Hey everyone, welcome back to Tuesday Tea, excuse me, with myself, Alicia, and co-host Melissa. We're here today with Lindsey. We're so excited to have her. She is also a fellow therapist of some of our previous guests, a colleague, but she has some excellent wisdom and perspective to really wrap up this summer of self. So I'm going to let her introduce herself to give us some more on her background, where she's coming from, all of that, and then we'll get into it. So welcome, Lindsey. So glad to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me. So let's see. My name is Lindsey. I live in Chicago, born and raised. Went to school at the University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes,
Hey.
and got my graduate degree from Wash U in St. Louis. Um, I have two young sons, 2.5 and 9 months, so that keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
And I'm in private practice, work with individuals and couples, mostly adults with mood disorders, things like that. So it's a little bit about me. Happy to be here.
I love it. Are you a big college football person?
I am, and
Is
we
it a
are,
starting?
'tis the season. It is
Yes.
starting. I can't wait.
My husband will not let me forget it. We're going to Tampa to see some friends next Saturday, and he's like, Ohio State plays at noon. So we have to be, I'm like, I don't just, if there's food and beverages, I'll be there. I mean, I enjoy football, but college is not as much my jam. This Sunday is more my day.
Yes, I feel like it's either or, but
Yes.
yes, Iowa and Ohio State.
That's why I was, when you
Hmm.
said where you went, I'm like, I feel like she probably enjoys football
Oh yeah,
because
yes.
football schools. Okay, well, we could talk about that for a whole episode, but that's not what we're here for. What we've really been chatting this summer around how to sort of think about implementing a lot of the important topics we had broached over some of the earlier summer months. You don't have to know what all of those are, but I think when thinking just conceptually about, even if it's with your clients or in life, like when we're learning new tools or new skills and we get all this exciting information, but then it goes on a book on our shelf or a notebook we took notes at this great conference and like put away and never thought about again, or we did that cleanse for the 4 days and then like are back to eating Doritos every day for lunch or whatever, right? I guess what I'm trying to get at in this conversation are what are some really practical ways we can start to put it all together and build out a plan that works, that has longevity and that has success and isn't just like a hype, like buzz thing of the moment that we forget about quickly and never actually do anything with to change the trajectory of kind of where we're headed.
Yeah. I feel like I see this a lot being a therapist, right? People come and they have all these great goals, whether it's like, I want to drink a little bit less, I want to work out more, I want to start training for a marathon, or, even just like, I want to clean the house a little bit more, and I have a plan to do it, every day for 20 minutes, that sort of thing. And the ideas are so great, and we talk about them, and then when we follow up a week, 2 weeks later, that sort of thing, it kind of tails off. And
Mm.
so yeah, I think it is kind of difficult to keep habits alive. I think a huge piece to it is accountability. I think it's really helpful, whether it be a therapist or like a friend or a spouse, anyone, just letting someone else know that here is my plan. Here's what I'm going
Mm.
to do.
Mm.
Whether you ask that person to check in with you or even just putting it out there that someone else knows, I think can be helpful. Because when it's just you, sometimes we treat ourselves worse than we would treat other people or that sort of thing, and we don't always follow through. So I think that's one thought I have. And then also, I think a lot depends on, and this again could be coming from my therapist mind, but on like your mood and having your mood feel regulated. When we
Mm.
feel down, when we don't feel great, whether it be, we're getting into colder months and the weather won't be good, we have, seasonal affective disorder, things like that. Our motivation isn't always where it is at the beginning of summer where like everything's fresh and ready. So I think working on some of those pre-steps before these bigger goals of like, what are maybe some small goals to just feel well, to feel healthy,
Mm,
that can build upon those bigger goals we have of like, I want to lose some weight or I want to run a race, something like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love
So,
that.
mhm.
I'm also thinking about like this like idea of sustainability, and to your point, Lindsay, like it can be really exciting sometimes when we first start out a goal and we're like gung ho and we're like working out every single day, and it's like I always think like that's awesome, but it's also like not necessarily building a path for sustainability when you're like all in super fast and hard, and then there's like no roots, there's no like really think anchoring you to that. So when I try to like do something like this, I try to actually like not necessarily do it less, but do it at like commit to what I can actually do. Because I think sometimes I can't commit to working out like a huge amount every single day, 7 days a week for the like, rest of the year. Like, that will feel so overwhelming to me, and then I'll like eventually just peter out because I'm like, oh, fuck it, I can't do it now, you know. And then I'll
Yeah.
just say I'm not going to do it. Whereas if I say, okay, what can I do realistically? I can do 3 days a week or 4 days a week or whatever it is, right? I can do that, and then based on how that's feeling, and okay, like, can I do that for a week? Yes. Can I do that for 2 weeks? Great. Build some success, and then I can decide like if I want to increase or decrease or whatever. But that's something I've been thinking a lot about is I tend to like overcommit myself, and then I feel like I don't feel the success, and then I'm just like, well, forget it, it's just not working. And it's like, well, but if I had a little bit different approach or plan, I probably would have seen some success, and then it would have lasted at least a little bit longer than how it lasted, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I see that too. And what I like to tell people, because people have these great goals, and I'm like, so I do it for myself too. And when you think about like a big goal, I feel like people jump from like 0 to 10. And so
Yeah.
what I sometimes ask them is like, okay, if we're at a 0 right now, jumping to 10 might not actually be that realistic. What does like a
Totally.
2 look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's work in steps to get where we want to be, because to me, working at a 2 is better than working at a 0 for, and if we have these super lofty goals, when we don't reach them right away, we tend to give up and say
Yeah.
like, oh, it just wasn't for me, instead of maybe just like pivoting and adjusting. I know one of the concepts here is like creating accountability without perfectionism. And I think that kind of works here, which is like, we're not going for 5 straight days of running in a row,
Yeah.
because although that would be perfect, that's not really realistic for most people who have like a life and other things going on, and not
Right.
just, so what would working out or going for a run like 2 days a week look like? Shifting to something that feels more achievable and is also just as important than saying like, oh, I need to hit 5 days a week, but then really only hitting 2 days because that's what's realistic.
Yeah.
I feel like in therapy words, SMART goals. And they are tried and true because they work, right? So specific, measurable, realistic, achievable, timely. Some people say relevant, realistic, same difference. But I think to your point, Melissa, that's exactly what's happening. Your brain decides if it fails something, it gives up. So when we have this all or nothing, or we are making our long-term goal, what should be a long-term goal, like a short-term goal, or we're not meeting ourselves where we're at, then once we fail, we just like throw it out. And especially for higher achieving, smart women, we're really good at rationalizing it. It's not a fail.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And like we talk ourselves out of everything, and then we move on, and it looked pretty, even though it like didn't help us, and we missed the mark on what we were trying to do. And so I think using, like, you can download any template for a SMART goal anywhere. Like, everyone uses them. I learned about it in therapy. It's like very CBT, but like coaches use them, other teachers I'm sure use them, whatever. But and just like write your goals out. Like less is more because you can always add on, but it's really hard to take away in this game. So like painfully easy, and then to build is kind of how I like to always introduce it, or sometimes think about it for myself. Like, so easy, it's laughable, but like, trust me, start there, right? Because if it was so easy, you would already be doing it. So it's probably not as easy as it sounds on some level, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm thinking about too is, for me, is the buy-in. And maybe you can speak more to this, but I know me personally, like, I read a book and it said it's really good to go outside for 10 minutes in the sun every morning. I did this for like, I don't know, 2 weeks. And then I just like was uninterested. And I understand the benefits, and like I think it did make me feel better, and I don't really know why I stopped. Like, there wasn't, maybe because it's really fucking hot here. Maybe that's why. But like, it just, even then I would sit in the shade. I wasn't like going for a walk or anything like too aggressive, because I knew myself, like, I wasn't going to do that much. But I don't know, like, my buy-in wasn't there. Like, it didn't make sense for me to keep doing this thing that time of day. So I guess, like, when people come to you maybe, or thinking through like, how do we unlock our buy-in? Is it okay if we're not bought into everything? Like, how does that inform sometimes what sticks or what doesn't stick too?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's almost like trial and error, right? Like, we don't necessarily know what is going to interest us. There's a lot of ideas out there that seem really great, and I think initially we have a strong interest in them. I know for me, I have had interest in a lot of things, and then some of it trails off, but then some of it doesn't. So I think it's okay to give yourself permission to adjust what it is that interests you and where your buy-in is, and not to force something that just isn't what you're wanting. You know, I talk with a lot of people, and sometimes I feel, or I hear guilt within them when they talk about it, because it's something they talked with me about, that they said they were interested in. They, did it, and then it's really not for them, and they feel badly that they're like failing at it. And I think it's important to think about the language we use when we speak to ourselves. And again, this is a little CBT, but to kind of readjust and give ourselves permission to reframe what's important to us and what we want to prioritize, because we can't prioritize it all. So
Right.
if going outside for 10 minutes a day just wasn't your jam at the end of the day, okay, we'll find something else that is.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like, if you are adjusting, if you're like checking in with yourself after, like a couple days, a week or 2 weeks of doing the thing, right? Like for you, Alicia, was going outside, and you're seeing benefits, and you're like, oh, okay, like this might not be like my favorite yet, but like I'm going to keep doing it because I do see the benefits, right? I think sometimes like the like results will sometimes create some buy-in. But if you're not seeing like enough results where it really isn't like really adding that much value to your life, I think that's a good indicator of something that then it's probably okay to adjust, and you should probably like remove yourself from any guilt associated with not doing it. Or like maybe it does add value, but you just don't like it, and that's okay too. But I know like in education a lot we say like results create buy-in, because like there's always a new initiative, right? And teachers are like, like kill me, I don't give me anything else to do. And I get it. Like when I was a teacher, I felt the same way. But if you're showing me the results, or I'm seeing results with my kids, that's like a quick win for me, right? I'm gonna be bought in right away, because I want my kids to be successful. So I think for you probably weren't seeing like that much of an impact. So for you, it was like, okay, like next, this thing isn't really like doing much for me. So next, kind of,
Yeah. I think I also, which maybe is helpful for people to think about too, I've really learned I have to be honest with myself about what I'm willing to do at certain times of day. I wake up awake, but I am not a morning person. So because this was adding something I had to do extra in the morning, when I already am very weird about like, don't put too much on me when I'm first out of bed, even if it was like just sitting instead of on the couch or in the bath, whatever. Like, it wasn't like hard. I think for me, that was something to just keep being honest with myself about. Like, this is not the best time to try to add a new thing. Or if I'm trying to update my morning routine, like I need to be more kind or gentle with like what actually feels right for me at that hour of the day, right? Like you guys both are moms, so whether you want to be morning people or not, you have to be. Like I had the luxury of not having to ever have to be up for anyone. So like that's just something I know. Or a workout. If I'm gonna work out, I better be in the first half of the day or it's quite likely not gonna happen. There are days I'll like at home in the treadmill in my garage, like I'll pop out there after work or something, but if I have to like go somewhere, I need to schedule an earlier class. Because odds are like it's not gonna happen for me. Where some people are like, give me the 8 p.m. workout, I hate anything sooner, right? Or even this around my cycle of the month, like I'm much more creative and interested in making things and doing stuff. So I like do a lot, a couple weeks a month, like boom, because I know there's going to be another week or two where it's just going to be harder to think about making a reel or a post or writing a newsletter or whatever. And it's taken a long time, but I think the more I've gotten honest, like that's okay. And like, let's work with what I am and who I am instead of trying to like be whatever I think I'm supposed to be doing or expect the same thing from me all of the time of all hours of the day or weeks of the month. I've actually like improved my productivity and created some things that are more sustainable because I'm actually being honest about like me and all my quirks, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And so I'm a runner. I like to run a lot. I do it multiple times a week. I've run a couple marathons, but
Amazing.
I feel like whether it's just my social media knows or what, I am getting so many things on my social media about like people's routines of waking up first thing in the morning, giving themselves an ice bath of the
Oh my
face.
God.
And like,
If I see one more video like that, I'm like, nobody fucking does this. And like, what's this weird things you're wearing to bed every night? Like, this is not real life. Like,
most of the time, we all know that most of us just like fall into bed at the end of the night and are like, I don't have
yeah.
time to put on 6 face masks and tape my mouth. Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but like that might work for some people waking up
Yes.
at 5 a.m. going for their run. Beautiful. I love it. But if I were to try and do that, adjust who I am and what works for me for that, I know I wouldn't be successful because I am not a morning person and I would not stand a chance at reaching those goals. I would probably be one of those people, like it's a one-off thing, right? I would do it one time. I'd be like, this was awesome, but then it wouldn't be maintained.
You never do it again. Percent. Yeah.
And so you got to know what works for you and what doesn't, and not measure yourself against what someone else is doing either, because like, I mean, we could have a whole episode on that, but what works for one person isn't going to work for someone else. And it's really important that when you're thinking about your goals, it's in the context of what realistically can I do and what's going to work for me.
Yeah, and like who you are, like you both just said. I think we hear a lot about like comparison is the killer of confidence, you know, and I think social media makes that really hard to not compare yourself to everything else. And it's like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this mom's doing this and like making fucking homemade sourdough starters, and I'm like, stop. No, but like I have to remind myself, like, number one, her life looks very different than mine. So like as a single working mom, like I'm
sourdough starters are not high on the list right now.
Totally. But also like that might be bullshit anyway. Like what she's posting might be for everybody else, because as women, I think we've been socialized to sort of compete, when in fact, like if we just kind of pulled back the curtain and said, listen, I'm not doing this every day, but like I want to try it today. I don't know. Sometimes I think we promote things and this like vision almost, or this like reality that isn't always 100%. And that doesn't help us. Like if we're talking about letting go of perfection and having accountability without perfection, it is important that we're not just real with ourselves, but real with other people, because we're never going to be able to let go of perfection if we're comparing ourselves to other people, right? Because we have this idea in our head of something that may be actually a fiction and may not be reality.
Yes. Right. Like you see it on social media, but when that camera goes off, that person could turn off that camera and be really sad or miserable inside, or you know, we don't know, but the picture we're seeing is of this put together person who loves making that sourdough. And so
and no shade to sourdough, I love eating sourdough. I
Me
don't
too.
have any time to make a sourdough. Like anything I have to create something before I create the thing, I don't have time for
You're
that. Like
like uninterested.
baking, cooking, I love. Give me the sourdough starter and I'll be happy. I can't ferment something in my house.
Right,
No, I'm not
right,
into it.
right, right. Well, and here's my hot take about social media. People get paid to show you what someone's paying them to show you. And so, like, taglines, things people talk about, things people are portraying, some of these people are making a lot of money to do that, even if they don't
Yeah.
give a shit or believe any of it. Some people are
That's a good
trying
point.
to make a lot of money and never will, but are like really trying hard. So I think like just holding that in the back of our minds when we get roped into that's like the easiest place to look at that comparison game, because we get
Yeah.
targeted with certain things that show. But I always just think about like, who's the person showing me this, and like what is their objective? They're trying to like get rich or famous or what, go viral. So do I, like, what's my buy-in then to what they're actually
Yeah.
sharing, right? And
It's
you might have your
great.
trusted sources where you know like it's a different sort of foundation, and while that's still an agenda, it's different. They're more like vetted. So I think that's always just something helpful to hold, because I hear this so much from clients and from other folks, and I think it's always like, but they get paid for clicks, so of course that's what, like, this bitch probably didn't even make the bread. You know what I mean? She's like, Taylor Swift
Yeah.
talks about it, it's hot right now, I gotta put it on my thing. So she like found something and like talked about it, and then that was it. And she's like, I don't even eat bread. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah.
but like because it's popular right now, it's clicks. No offense to her, maybe she's a nice sourdough making lady. But you know, I think it's just another thing to like in the back of our minds to hold. And it goes back to that idea of stop wasting your energy getting like wisdom from other people, because that's their story. Like take that energy and like learn about yourself,
Yeah.
because this is what's gonna last and this is what's gonna work, right? It's nice to get like ideas or like insight or inspo, but like to what degree is that helpful and unhelpful? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when I think about buy-in too, I like to ask myself, especially with like social media or things that it seems like, oh, well, you parenting too, I get it a lot with like the
Yes.
online stuff and you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And what I like to ask myself is like a reality check is like, who says I should?
Yeah.
Who's
Right.
making
Who
the
is
rules?
they? Right.
Who is they? And you know, who actually gets to measure whether or not I should or shouldn't do something? And that's me, not the other person. And so
Right.
Yeah.
when you think about buy-in in that way too, I'm not going to buy into something that I'm only feeling like I should do because someone else is telling me to. Like, I'm going to trust myself in what I want to do. Just because everyone is walking with heavy
Weighted vest.
weighted vests, which I hear is fantastic.
I was just talking about that this morning. I did a weighted vest hike without a weighted vest on Peloton, and I was like, I wonder why, like, but then I learned for women our age, it's helpful
It's good for
for
your
like
bones.
perimenopausal and bone death, whatever. But I was just like, that's so funny, because I was
Right,
literally
yeah.
talking about it this morning. Like, should I buy a weighted vest? Should I become one of those
Very
women?
trendy, and I think it's actually it is very good for you. And for me, it's not something I feel like I need to do because I prefer other forms of exercise. But I was really contemplating and I looked it up. I'm like, should I get a vest because everyone
Yeah.
I'm seeing is wearing these vests and
Yeah.
they keep saying it's really good? And I'd ask myself who's saying I need to do this, or like
Yeah.
what? And the
Right.
reality
Like,
is,
why? Why
Yeah.
should you?
I didn't
Yeah.
buy into it because it just wasn't for me.
That makes sense.
I did just recently buy a
And it's
weighted
funny, that was my
vest,
same
by the
question.
way.
Wow. You what? You
I
what?
did just recently buy a weighted vest because I know because my gynecologist was like, oh, if you just add a weighted vest to your walks, it actually like improves the health benefit. And I had been thinking about it for a while. So then when she said it, I was like, okay, like I mean, it's a very low investment. Like I didn't get like a crazy top of the line one. Cause the same thing, Lindsay, I'm like, I mean, if I don't like love it, I'm not wasting all that money. But yeah, I've done it a couple of times, and I think it's hard, but I think that's good. Like it didn't feel that much harder than walking, but it was a little obviously heavier. But
Right.
anyway,
Right.
yeah.
But I think ultimately the why is an important thing to ask. And the why at the end of
Totally.
this is it's not like I need a Stanley water bottle when it was cool because it's the same shit any sustainable,
Yeah.
right? Like this is like, okay, well let me look. Oh, there's actually
Yeah.
some like health benefits. Rebecca Kennedy, who I trust on Peloton, like gave me really good reasons about like why to think about it, especially as a female, especially as a female of a certain age. I know from Pilates, like the idea of like I'm doing this because the more you do movements like that helps the bone builders build your bones. And as we get older, our bone density decreases, which is like leads to osteoporosis. And so you want exercises that like that. So walking and then that extra weight is going to help. So like I'm like I could get behind it. This makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not everyone has to do it, but like that's some good science or research
Yeah.
of the why versus this random like pretty looking
Influencer.
thing
Yeah.
that means nothing. The why, sure, get it because it's aesthetically pleasing, but it's like the why is because it's just cool right now, not because it's actually something to maybe hook in for you, kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah, and the why
Totally.
can be anything too. It could be because it's useful and it actually has benefits to it. The why could be because it makes me feel good and I like it, even if other people don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yes.
And then in my case, the why is just like I don't prefer walking. So if I got
Right.
it,
So you don't need that.
I just
Exactly.
wouldn't use it. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
whereas a lot of people find it very useful. So the why is very important for buy-in, for making intentional decisions about these kind of goals that you set for yourself and continuing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good point.
I have a client who has a tweenish age daughter, and just talking about, which you guys probably speak to even more than me, but like parenting kids with so much access, even if you limit it, like they're getting access to things or they're getting messages, and like her 9-year-old's like, I need a skincare routine, and she's like, you're 9, like what? Like it's no. But I was like, well, what if you had her go do her research. Like she wanted this one brand. I was like, okay, then create a presentation of why you need this brand, like what's its deal, why that versus this one, whatever. Because I think like especially we learned it later because we had less access to like stuff. But I think like just thinking of coming up with your own like due diligence, like what we've just gone through this
Yeah.
way to vest, is so important. And like what a great thing to teach kids even younger instead of just jumping on any trend because like we all would just be like buying. Imagine your brain at that age. Like it was hard enough to go to a store where it was like the only access we really had and like want everything, right? Versus it's like in your face on a different level now.
Yeah.
But like having to put the work in of like, why is this worth $12 more than this brand, or like what's in it, or what is it? What do I need it for? Not just because some random other 12-year-old on TikTok told me, like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think like that's something I've been trying to take for myself too, is like do some of my own research as well
Yeah.
to help me be able to articulate my why better, not just
Right.
because other people are telling me I should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that for sure.
And I think when you do research, what it also does is it gives you time to not make like a snap emotional decision,
Yes.
right? We're being influenced so easily. We see something, ooh, her skin looks great and she's really pretty. I need to get what she's having, and you purchase it right away or you don't even think about it. But if you do your research, you do your due diligence of like, what is the purpose of this? What's the cost versus the benefit? You let some time go by, that emotional, ooh, I want this kind of starts to go down, and you're able
Right.
to see it from another perspective. And then sometimes you don't want it as much, or you realize there's something else that I want more.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
a helpful tool to not just buy everything.
So you'll put it in the cart, save it for later.
Yeah.
I'm
I
the
still
queen
want
of
it.
that. Yeah, the queen of it. Yeah, so I think that obviously we could keep talking about this forever and ever. I think we've gotten some really good things just talking about buy-in, coming up with your why, really like, I think the root of everything, right, is knowing ourselves and coming back to like checking in with ourselves about what, if something is working for us and why not. Is there anything else, Lindsay, that you just want to like leave everybody with about this topic of just closing out our summer for self, either about the accountability, the why, or just something else that is just really resonating with you right now that you want to elevate?
I think maybe back to one of my first points, because I do think it's so important, is making sure before we attack all these goals that we have, checking in with ourselves and just making sure that we're feeling in like a neutral place. Because I think before we can take care of ourselves on any physical sense or anything like that, we need to make sure that we're in a place to best take to do that. And so
Yeah.
are we getting enough sleep? Are we eating okay? Is our mood feeling all right? Have we checked out any aches and pains, things we've had with the doctor? Just making sure that we are prioritizing our own self-care, because when we do that, I think that helps us then have that motivation and the consistency to set and maintain goals, right? Again, we could do anything like once or twice because we have that spurt of motivation, but to build habits takes doing these same things over and over again. And that, when motivation fails, it's like the consistency takes over and the habits take over. And so we really want to make sure we're in the best spot to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I love that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there any last things that you want to share, just like where folks can find you or things you're doing?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You can find me at risewelltherapy.com. We're also on Instagram at risewelltherapy. We offer individual, family, couples therapy. And yeah, I think that's it. Check us out.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Bye, everyone.